Hello, everyone, and welcome to our monthly podcast. This is a podcast for Otherworldly Fundraising. We are a nonprofit group of people who come together and raise money. This month, this year we are raising money for mom bombs. We have a convention in September. This month, Trevor will be interviewing artist Jim Hall. Here's Trevor.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you. Hey, tonight we're going to be having a good conversation with Jim. Somebody I met in Metropolis, Illinois years ago, and somebody I like and respect a lot and does really good work. So we're just going to have a really cool artist-to-artist conversation this evening. So welcome in, Jim.
Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It's good to see you.
I think we actually met probably 10 years ago. It's been a long time.
Well, I started going to Metropolis in 2008. So,
well, then
and I would say you were around.
Yeah.
Let's just not think about how long ago. But
I was invited in. It was really cool. We had several people from Memphis who were involved in Metropolis and the Superman celebration, and they kept asking me to come, and finally I agreed, and I was brought in as the artist guest of honor, which was very much an honor because I've known their guests of honor, and it was amazing. George Perez, Butch Guys. Just amazing artists, and so I was brought in, and I liked the show well enough that I asked could I come back, and my wife Christina decided to come with me that year, and so however long it's been, for 10 years or so, this is the only show she ever goes to with me. She will not go to any other show, but she loves Metropolis, and they love her. So we go every year.
Christy's really an awesome, sweet person. So yeah, what's not to like about her?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we've been married for 30 years. I could probably tell you what's not to like, but still.
Okay, all right. But the goal is for everything to be better after it's over, not worse.
Yeah.
Uplift. So I'm kidding. We're all kidding. But all right, Jim. So I don't know how often you get talked to in an interview fashion. So
never. And this is my first time streaming in anything other than an office peer-to-peer situation. So I don't know.
Well, good. Then
I have no idea what to expect.
Well, I'm just gonna run you through the grill, but no. So, and go off track whenever you want, and we know each other well enough to talk for real. But again, these questions are things I've called together when I've been working on the few other things I've done. I think they might be a good skeleton for getting a good artistic meet.
Okay, cool. Hey,
so okay, what are your earliest memories about making art?
They actually go back so far that I don't really have memories. I mean, obviously coloring books. And I guess if you want to say what are my earliest memories of making art, seriously, it was starting to use the coloring books as a guide for what I wanted to do inside the lines. If that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
I wasn't just trying to slap color on the coloring books. I was trying to uh, create depth in the coloring books. And I mean, that was probably 6 years old.
That's good. I mean, that's an age where art talent really shows well in art people and shows well for most everybody. Sometimes I think it's just beaten out of the average person by the time you're around.
Yeah, the color in the lines. I know.
No, yeah, I'm just the idea of making images and stuff is a worthwhile activity. You know?
But then, I can also remember in fourth grade or so, I was lucky. I had a really good art teacher. She was related to an artist named Carol Clore from Memphis, who is a highly regarded regional artist. I mean, his paintings sell now for a couple $100,000. And I believe it was his daughter who was my first art teacher, and she let me go wild. And I can remember being in class with a couple of other guys who were interested in drawing superheroes, and us kind of friendly competing, to create the best superhero drawings. And so I guess we were all into comics. We were, and we were all pretty good, but I was the guy that could draw. What was it, Skippy the snail? No, the turtle, and the pirate guy from the from those ads in magazines. You could get a scholarship. You could go to art school. Blah blah blah. Just draw this pirate, so on. And I mean, honestly, I turned out the best reproductions of those drawings. But of course, that's, drawing what you see is easy. Drawing what you imagine is difficult. So anyway, earliest memories, those are them.
So rolling into that, and it answers a little bit of the next question I was going to ask. What really influenced your art early on, and what influenced it today? Like, I mean, I say artist, you're always looking around, you're always seeing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a favorite artist, a comic artist, or
the first artist that I noticed, there was a really interesting, like, 100 pages for 60 cents comic book. And on one page, they actually had several artists examples on there. Kurt Swan, obviously. It was different Superman artists. But I think it was somebody like Katzenberger, who I thought did much better.
Does ring a bell, but I can't remember the first.
We get, if that's not right, it doesn't matter, because it's we think of Jeffrey Katzenberger as a name we know, and he's an animation guy. But I mean, it was so much more interesting than what Kurt Swan was doing that I was blown away. But then after that, I loved Legion of Superheroes. And the first artist on there that really, really caught my eye was Dave Cockrum, who obviously went on to be the first artist for Giant Size X-Men #1. But when he was with DC doing Legion, his work was so much more interesting. It was so cool. And then when he left, he was followed by Mike Grell. And so those two were my biggest influences early on. And I became an X-Men fan. And then when John Byrne hit X-Men, I was done. His work was so incredible, so different from everything anybody else had done. And it took me a long time to start to discover some of the more interesting influences, some of the more artistic influences, the less formulaic kind of people. I was actually not a big Jack Kirby fan forever and ever. I was not a big Jack Kirby fan. I thought he was crude and unrealistic. It took me a long time to learn that his art was about power, not about draftsmanship. If you go back and look at some of his old stuff, his draftsmanship was incredible. But by the time he was doing Fantastic Four and Thor and Iron Man, he was all about dynamics. And I'm a draftsman. I like to be precise, and what he was doing didn't trip my trigger. Wasn't until much later that I discovered how awesome he was.
Well, it's good to grow and change as we get older. I definitely know it's
if you can't learn to absorb new influences, if you can't learn to appreciate individual artists for what they're good at, then you're really hampering yourself. For instance, you're not known as the greatest draftsman in the world.
No.
But
Yeah.
but you have this dynamic color that I envy. I really do, because I don't understand color at all.
You probably do more than you think, but I'll take the compliment.
Well, I appreciate it, but I just can't do it. Christina is amazing with color, and she was actually the one that pointed out to me what you do with color, and I started looking at that and going, "Oh crap, you're right. Jesus, this is awesome." I've got Bruce and Dick over here with the bust and the button. That's right there. I've got a Mickey Mouse as Superman Action Comics #1. No, maybe it's Superman #1. That's hanging over the bed in the guest bedroom. And I look at them all the time and just go, "Oh my God."
Well, thank you. And I've got, your work's much thinner and flatter, so I have it stored. But your Batman family is something I treasure. And then the Legion that you did for me of the Silver Age costumes is truly masterful. So
Thank you.
Yeah, we bartered some, and that's one thing too. Artists, especially when you're starting out, or when you're just not too invested in every square molecule of your time and value, it's nice to trade and get to know other people and then do work for them. And
that's true. I have a piece right over there that I traded art with a 2-time Pulitzer Award-winning editorial cartoonist, Mike Ramirez. I gave him crap, and he gave me Pulitzer Prize-winning stuff. So,
well, he probably doesn't think that. and I don't think I would either.
No. He doesn't. He appreciates his artist friends a lot.
Very cool.
But yeah, that was a good trade. Good trade.
Very good. So, okay, moving on to the next question. At what point in your life did you know that art was what you wanted to do for your bread and butter all the time? You know, major mover for your life. When did you know that's what you wanted?
That's a really good question. A really good question, and the answer is long. So I'll give you the answer as concisely as possible. I wanted to be a comic book artist, really did, and I spent some time going to Memphis comic book conventions and talking to artists and so on. And when I was probably freshman, sophomore in high school, I went to a con and I met Bob McLeod. Bob McLeod he spent most of his time as an inker, but he's best known probably as the artist for the New Mutants when they debuted. At the time, I believe he had just done inks on Superman versus Muhammad Ali, the Treasury size. And when I met him, he was wearing jeans and a ratty t-shirt. And I started talking to him, and he said, "You can't make any money in this business." Of course, I didn't understand at the time that this was coming from somebody who lived in New York, and it was expensive to live in New York.
Still is.
But he threw me off, and being a child of the '80s, I wanted to make money. I wanted to be a lawyer or a broker or something. I wanted to make millions because I was a child of the '80s, and so I gave up on that concept. But then I guess I was 20 years old, and I had a copy of Artist Magazine, and they had the Artist Market segment in the magazine, and it was talking about what comic art paid, and they gave a page rate, and I said, well, okay, and that's 22 pages. Well, hell, that's twice as much money as I'm making now. So I decided to go on and go for it. It was 4 years after I made that decision before I finally broke into the business. So I would say when I finally realized that I could make a living doing it, that's when I decided to break in.
So in your 20s, probably, right? 20s.
I was 21 when I really started working at it, and I was 25 when I got my first gig, and then probably 26 when I first started working for Marvel Comics. It was it was a surprise to me that I got from zero to pro in as short a time as I did, especially not having any formal education. So
what was your first published piece?
I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. Murcielaga the She-Bat. For an independent publisher, I think I got $50 a page. It was kind of awful, really, but it was better than the art that they had been publishing. So I mean, that was good. But
I mean,
yeah, that was
work is good, done is good. Yeah, I mean,
and and then I did the Tigress for Heroic Publishing, and again got about $50 a page. But because of that, I had that work, and I had some samples that I had done, and I met Joe Staten and Bart Sears and Graham Nolan all at a Memphis convention, and they were so cool because when I showed them my work, they said, "Well, why don't you sit back here with us?"
that's cool.
Which was very cool. And so I got to talk to all of them, got to be friendly with them. And then the next time I did a batch of samples, I sent them out to those guys in addition to all the editors. And Joe Staten had my samples on his desk, trying to urge himself to respond, to write me a note and tell me what he thought. And they were sitting there on his desk when he had his Christmas party that included Fabian Nicieza and Ron Mars. Fabian was writing for X-Men and Ron was writing Silver Surfer. And at the time, it looked like Ron Lim was going to be leaving Silver Surfer. So they both asked, could they contact me, let me have the samples and so on. And eventually Ron Mars talked to his editor on Silver Surfer, and they gave me a call, gave me an 8-page backup story. And then I did Guardians of the Galaxy Annual, and then went right into Silver Surfer for a few issues.
So what was that like working for them? I mean, the bigger companies than the smaller companies or other freelance
the
stuff.
Money was better. Money doubled.
But that's old money as a child of the 80s. Okay.
The money doubled, so that was good. And once I got regular work, I was able to quit my day job, which was awesome. I was still working 100 hours a week after I quit my day job, so it was a lot of work. But
yeah, definitely,
it was so cool. I felt so good about myself. It was amazing. My editor was good. Working Marvel style was really cool too. When I work from a script, I'm not as creative as when I work from a plot. So working Marvel style was really awesome. I can't tell you how amazing it is to have Marvel Comics ask you to draw Marvel characters that are going to be published. And that was not nearly as amazing as we still had Piggly Wigglies in Memphis when during that time. And so that was the closest grocery store, and they had a comic book rack. I walked through there one day and this boy was looking at my Silver Surfer book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm done. That was the most amazing thing in the world.
And that kind of just, for me, is the barometer kind of touches over. It's not just, it's like that's definitely an artist's soul kind of response, is when you see your work touching someone else, when you watch someone's face change or their expressions change, you see their mind going through what they're seeing, and then them smiling. It's like you just literally spoke a language that few people do, and that is a cool thing.
Absolutely. I touched somebody, and that was
Yeah.
really cool. And
So
then go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Was Silver Surfer one of your favorite characters? Because I was going to ask you.
It actually was. Yeah. I loved. I love the Silver Surfer run that John Buscema did. I don't remember who wrote it. Probably Roy Thomas, but I can't swear to it. But that when Silver Surfer got his own book and he was trapped on Earth, there was so much pathos in that character. And for all the power that he had, he couldn't roam the cosmos anymore. He was stuck here studying human beings. And because the character grew and developed and reacted to his environment in a human sort of way, yeah, he was one of my favorites. And then Silver Surfer #4, where he battles Thor in Asgard, yeah, that was one of the best issues I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, he was one of my favorites. But if you'd asked me what book do you want at that particular time in my life, I would have said, well, I want one of the X books, or I want Legion. Of course, they had screwed up Legion at that point. It wasn't the kids anymore. It was, adults having adult issues, and it wasn't fun. So yeah, Silver Surfer that's a no-brainer. Yeah, hell, I want to do that. Let's do it.
That's so cool. And I assume once you do a certain level of work for a certain amount of time, and then it gives you more opportunity later, which is also a good thing. So.
It did. We had a bit of a snafu. I could have been the regular surfer artist, but there were some things going on behind the scenes, and I needed work. I was impatient. I wasn't going to wait anymore, and Dark Horse offered me a gig. When Dark Horse Heroes was a thing, I had friends at Dark Horse, and plus they again upped my rate by about 50%. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that one. And they were so focused on the story, on the writing, that it was much more interesting to me than all the crossover stuff that was going on with Marvel. And I think they were putting out 140 titles a month or something like that. It was stupid.
That's a lot.
It may have been like 120, but it was still too many. And Dark Horse had this really cohesive universe with a with good story. And I like at the time they had a lot of creator orientation, which was very nice. And like I said, I had friends. In fact, Matt Haley was working on Ghost and maybe a couple other things, but his inker was a friend of his from high school, Tom Simmons, and Tom worked under Carl Story for a little while. Tom was amazing. So I told him, yeah, I'll come on board if you can get Tom to do my inks. And we produced some really, really good work. He took my decent work and made it way better, way better. In fact, right now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces above my desk that are my pencils and Tom's inks.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So, as far as your style of working, I've got a few questions about that, or in general,
Yeah.
your style of workflow. Do you prefer more open-ended deadlines or really tight, pressure-filled ones as far as getting stuff done?
If you give me an open-ended deadline, I'm gonna make you mad.
Fair.
It's just gonna happen. You need to give me a tight ass deadline, and you need to tell my wife what the deadline is.
Okay. Well, I figured that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm slow. I'm slow because I'm a perfectionist, and as Christina will tell you, uh, my loose work is fine, but I can't live with it. I have to tighten it up. So, if, if she knows what the deadline is, then I'll get it there. But yeah, do not leave me an open-ended deadline. I'll find something else to do, like play golf.
So is it easier for you to draw maybe for someone else or yourself in terms of forget about money for a second?
No. Obligation is obligation, whether it's free or for money.
Well, I meant like if you wanted to do a project for yourself or for the house in terms of a painting or something, doing it for yourself, or would you rather always be working for hire or having it have a function with somebody else? Does that make sense?
That's a very interesting question, because work for hire often doesn't work out very well. I've had projects uh, with people who liked my work and wanted me to flesh out their concept, but they hire me because they like my work, and then they try and tell me how to make the pages look. And why don't you hire somebody else? I'm not a monkey. If you like my style, then this is what you get. If you don't like my style, then hire somebody else.
Or draw it yourself, basically, too.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. I want you to draw exactly what I drew, except I want you to make it look better. Well, I can do that, but it's going to look like me. And then if you don't like that, that's a problem. I've had some battles over that in the past, but when it comes to doing my own work for myself, I have a tendency to be lazy. I'm lazy. There's no two ways about it. I'm a lazy person. So,
well, I mean, lazy feeding into perfectionism, feeding back into laziness as well. It's like mentally you're like, well, I'm going to be spending a year with this, let me go play some golf. Right. So to make it.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, now, the year before COVID, and then the first year of COVID, I was working like crazy because I just had ideas popping through my head. Hey, I know what I'm doing next. I know what I'm doing next. I know what I'm doing next. And that was cool. And I learned a lot. I produced a lot. I mean, the work got better and better and better as I went. It was really cool. But eventually I started running out of ideas, and I bogged down. So my best bet is to have a script, whether whether I wrote it or somebody else wrote it. And then I know I have to do this, and this, and get it done. Otherwise, I'll spin my wheels.
So basically, you're not drawing Christina, a picture of Wonder Woman for Christmas, kind of thing, because you never get it.
Quite true. I have a couple of. I have several. I have several portraits of her and self portraits that are meant to go together. And one Christmas, I did a really nice Rudolph and the sleigh and Santa and the whole bit. And I did it all in ink and colored pencil, and it's amazing. She hides it away 11 months out of the year. Well, 10 months. She pulls it out at Thanksgiving, displays it, and then New Year's Day it's gone. But it's still one of her favorite things they've ever done.
Well, that's very cool. But so it does bring you some joy to do things for other people versus.
It does. Yeah. I don't do it as often as I should, but yeah, it does.
Okay, so what is your favorite medium to work with? I know this answer.
Pencil. But my inks are all done right here. You see where my hand is? Right in here. You can't see my hand. I have a Cintiq tablet, and I use Clip Studio. I will scan my pencils in, and I will ink them in Clip Studio because I have shaky hand. I have a tendency to drop the brush and have to go blip, 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 and just leave these ink blotches all down. Oh my God, there's not enough light.
Which in the days of India ink and stuff would have made me scream if I was going through that.
Oh, I've done it so many times and screamed. There's not enough whiteout in the world to fix my inability to ink. However, Clip Studio, man, I can draw a line. Doesn't matter how much my hand shakes. Smooth, beautiful, love it. So yeah, I do all my ink digitally. But I mean, pencil is that has always been my medium of choice. Barring that, I love charcoal. But as I've said, I'm not good with color, so it's black and white.
I mean, black and white is a good thing. It's a world unto itself, man. So I'm in awe of that for sure.
Wait, see, black, white, black, white. Yeah, that's my thing.
So, how much of your day do you spend making art versus the business of selling and managing your art, so to speak?
I spend 20 or 30 hours a year managing my art and selling my art because I have stopped doing conventions except for Metropolis. I have one coming up in November. I will be side by side with Bob Hall, who was basically he was an '80s artist. He was good. He was really good, but I loved him most because his name was Hall. So I just do the 2 shows a year. As you know, your viewers don't, but I have a really good day job where I actually get to be an artist. I get to be a creator. I get to write scripts and illustrate and animate and direct video. So I draw when I want to. and I don't feel like I have to sell it because I already have a salary. It's essentially so. Excuse me, I'm sorry about this.
That's fine.
So, look, I'm one of the most fortunate artists in the world in that I get to be an artist and I get to do it on salary with benefits. I am a successful artist. I mean, financially successful artist. So, uh, when it comes to doing my own thing, I work when I want to, uh, when I'm inspired. And right now, I've got some inspiration. Uh, I've got something that I hope is going to be interesting, something that I want to do. Uh, and yeah, it'll take up my time for the next couple of years.
Any hints to the nature of that? Because that was going to be what your latest project was. One of my questions. You don't have to give details, but is it
Uh, well,
book or
I will. I will. Yeah, I don't mind telling you. I was at a horrible, horrible convention 5, 6 years ago. I was. I made nothing. I had zero sales, and I found out that people who were extras in The Walking Dead were getting minimum fees just for showing up at this convention. Like, really? I didn't get nothing, and I sold nothing. It was a horrible convention. But I was outside, out back, and kids don't smoke cigarettes, but I smoke cigarettes. So I was
oh, I
outside.
forgot to insert that PSA there. I was like,
Right, yeah,
living back as a fellow child of the
Right.
'80s. I was
And
just
if you
letting that go
have
by.
a nicotine addiction, then you can call 1-800 National Cancer Society or something like that. I think you'll be fine. But I was outside smoking a cigarette, and this, sorry, kind of pathetic cosplayer came out back. He didn't look at all like a fairy, but she's wearing a little fairy gauzy dress and these teeny tiny ass little fairy wings, and she's smoking a cigarette. And I went in and I drew this just depressed looking fairy with a cigarette in her mouth. And it inspired this fallen fairies concept. That's what I'm calling it, fallen fairies. The fairies that are living in a trailer park, the fairies that are dancing on, that are pole dancing or walking the streets, or they're fallen fairies. And I have finally decided that I just need to go ahead and do it. I just need to go ahead and produce all these illustrations of these poor downtrodden fairies they don't live in the court with the queen of the fairies. They, uh, they're scrabbling for a living. And so, yeah,
I kind of see you doing that, like the artists and photographers of a long time ago that would go and just photograph bunches of different people on different things and combine their images.
The disenfranchised, the poverty stricken, the homeless. Yeah, exactly.
And then you could present that like as a folio. You could actually either bind the book or
it occurred to me recently to actually use as inspiration actual human beings who are also downtrodden, who are disenfranchised, who are poverty stricken, and use them for inspiration for these fallen fairies. And, in a forward, explain this is what these images are based on. Don't forget that there are human beings living this way.
I think that's awesome.
I
That's
don't know, but I think it's a very interesting direction to go.
No, it sounded like a really good, serious idea. It's kind of definitely extremely art worthy. I mean, anything that you make art of is, but I think that kind of has a lot of sand to it. I think
I've never done art with a purpose before. My purpose has always been telling somebody else's story, illustrating somebody else's story. I've never done art that's supposed to make you think. And that's what art's really about, honestly. So, yeah.
Well, I think your art with the story it presents as a whole what people think about. So in that realm, I think comic books are definitely art. I think they're an American art form, but
I
together,
do not disagree.
no, I'm not
not
saying you're disparaging. I'm just reminding
Absolutely.
you were a part of the art, but now you would be doing the whole shebang, the whole enchilada.
Self-directed art, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to art to serve somebody else's purpose. It's art to serve my purpose.
Well, this is good. All right, I'm going to go to another process question.
I'm so highbrow, and I'm not highbrow.
No, I think you are more than you think. You kind of like are a Mark. You're like a Mark Twain highbrow, where you say it with the drawl and oh shucks, but you really have some some weights in the glove, so to speak. So I like it. But
great, thank you.
What environment supports your creativity the best? Like when you're getting your day going, how do you sharpen your pencils? Do you have coffee, tea, milk, or something stronger, or any kind of thing like that? What's your environment that you set for?
I'm most creative when I get a chance to get a shower.
Clean creation. Okay.
I don't mean just getting clean. I mean, I think best in the shower. And I will, I actually, among people who know me, I will say, I had a shower thought, and they know what that means. That means I went out of the box. That's the best. I get a shower and then I dress as quickly as I can and I come right up to my board. When that's what I'm doing, when I'm trying to create, when I'm in a drawing mode, I'll be thinking about it while I'm in the shower. I get dressed fast. I come up and I hit the board as fast as I can because I got to get those thoughts on paper. I don't think I'm the only one that has their best thoughts in their shower.
Well, no, I think ideas in the shower are pretty kind of iconic. And that one guy with the bathtub idea, or was it Archimedes in the Eureka moment? Wasn't that in a bathtub?
No, I don't remember that story, but I was also thinking about there was a script writer who was banned from Hollywood because he was a socialist. And he did a whole bunch of ghostwriting. And he spent most of his time in the bathtub with a typewriter up on a ledge. And that's where he thought best. God, I can't remember the name of that. I can't remember his name, which was the movie's name, but Never mind. But it's not coming to me. But it was a fairly recent movie, sometime in the last 4 years.
So, what advice would you give someone young that's like, oh, I'm artistic, I might want to pursue this? What kind of advice would you give to someone watching this that would be thinking about?
This is going to sound, unfortunately, a lot like what Bob McLeod told me. Do it while you're young. Sorry, not just art, but comic art specifically. Do it while you're young, because the companies are not increasing their page rates. Unless you are in the top 5%, let's say, of comic book artists, you will not be able to have a car and a house and a family, because they're just not going to pay you. So learn art, learn illustration, learn how to tell stories with your art, which is what illustration is all about. And start early on looking at avenues other than comics, just in case you don't end up in the 5%. Now, that being said, that's if you want to do work for Marvel or DC. My next most important advice is, if you want to do comics for a living and you want to make a decent living at it, either learn to write or become good friends with a good writer, and then publish your own stuff, your own properties.
That makes sense.
Because then you own the rights, you own all the publishing, you can sell the screenplays if it goes there. I mean, look, this is, honest to God, it's as bad as trying to make a living acting. There's some really fortunate people who are not stars, but are consistently working actors, and they make good money. They don't make multiple millions of dollars, but they make good money. And there are great comic book artists out there who make good money, but they don't make good money working for Marvel and DC. Your best bet is do a bunch of work for them if you can get it, and then go do your own thing. I hate to say that. I really hate to say that, because it was a dream of mine for all of my childhood. And it's a dream of so many young people out there to get to work for Marvel or for DC. But if you're not Jim Lee, if you're not Olivier Coipel, if you're not, I mean, you're not going to get the big bucks. And the sad thing is that if you are Lionel Francis Yu, you're Olivier Coipel, you're Jim Lee, the fact is that you're not going to be able to draw a comic book anymore. They will use you to do covers. They will allow you to do 4 issues, and then they'll give it to somebody who nobody's ever heard of, and they'll put you on something else. You're a hitman. That 5% of the best artists in comics they never get to do a 12 or 24 or 36-month run anymore. They're just hitmen, and their only job is to sell the first 4 issues.
And basically, like with the covers, they're icing on the cake for something else. So they're just being used.
And then after 6 or 8 issues, they're going to cancel the damn title and do another number 1 because they're pandering to the speculators. Daredevil number 1, we go 12 issues, we cancel it, we wait 6 months, and we do Daredevil Goes to Washington number 1, so that we can sell 6, 8, 10 more issues, and then we'll do Daredevil Gets a Girlfriend number 1. And unless you are in that top 5%, you don't get to do the number 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't get all those royalties, you don't get all the money. Only that top 5%. It's gotten to be really sad.
Yeah, I mean, because really, that's the dream of that is like kind of an American dream, as comics are in kind of the American art form in a way. There were people.
Oh yeah, they are.
People. I mean, all the kids read them all. I mean, and so if you're wanting to get into it, you think being a really professional artist would mean drawing comic books. So yeah, I get it.
If you want to make money in comics, be a writer. I can do one issue a month max. I'm better off doing 8 a year. A writer.
Well, I find that
3 issues a month, and guess what? A writer gets paid exactly the same money that the artist gets paid, but now he's getting paid for 3 issues. So he's making 3 times the money.
So do both. I mean, I know a lot of people I know that have skills along. Usually creativity runs the gamut. I mean, a lot of people I know that are creative have visual creative things, and they can be crafty, and then they can be musical too, or have some gift with the word. I wish I was
the only artist I know who can't play the guitar.
Well, I can't either, but I had played other instruments before. So, all right, okay. Well, to end it on a higher note, and the last thing I'll ask you for this go around, being an artist, when you're doing your thing and in your vibe, you really get to meet people, and you get to have really good interactions. Do you have a favorite memory of interacting with somebody with your art or because of your art? That you could tell us about?
Quite a few, except the most recent really might be the best. This last trip to Metropolis, I got to meet one of my heroes. And then I also got to meet somebody whose work I really admire. And it turned out that we had a mutual respect for each other. I got to meet Carl Kiesel, who co-created Superboy, the new Superboy. Connor Kent, is that right?
Where is that? The son, the newest Superboy is like the son of Clark, I think.
No. We're talking the one after the death of Superman.
Oh, the clone. Yeah, that would be Connor. Yeah.
So he co-created Connor with Tom Grummett. And not only was he writing that book, but he was inking it. And it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I told him we had this weird town hall kind of thing where they did not tell us. It was in the big Metropolis tent. It was the big tent, and it was just me and Zach Howard and Carl Kiesel, and uh, and and they didn't provide us a topic or a moderator or anything. So we were just on the stage, just kind of ad-libbing. And I told Carl at that time that Superboy, when he and Tom Grummett were doing Superboy, it reminded me of the Legion of Superheroes that I was reading back in the 70s when I fell in love with comic books. And that made a big impression on him. And at the same time, I'm sitting there with Zach Howard, who is one of the best of the new generation of comic book artists. Absolutely amazing. His work on The Cape was amazing. His work on The Wild Blue Yonder was amazing. And I was already a big fan and found out he was going to be at Metropolis. And then Carl Kiesel was going to be at Metropolis. And I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to get in because I hadn't talked to the organizers for a while. So I was like, I'm begging, please let me in. And it turned out that Zach Howard was so nice. We spent the entire weekend together. He and I and my wife, Christina, and Carl tried to spend, and he had other obligations, but he tried to spend as much time as possible with us. And it was so cool. Being treated as a peer by these people, it's amazing. I can't put it in words how much it means to me. It was so cool.
Definitely makes it worthwhile. Yeah, all of it.
Yes, it does.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. Oh, and Carl came and looked. I had done some pages as samples back in 1990. Yeah, whatever. It was a long time ago, but I'd done some samples to try and get some work when I was out of work, based on a story that he had written, a Superboy story that he'd written, and he came over and he was flipping through my portfolio, and he came to. I did 3 pages. He came to the last page and he went, "Oh, I really like that." And when this guy who has been so influential in the industry says, "I really like that," that's look, that there's nothing better. There's really nothing better.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's
Makes me a
really
happy
awesome.
person.
Well, I think you make a lot of other people happy, and definitely, Kristen Marie, as you say, Metropolis. It's like that's a place, pretty magical place.
It is, and if this is nothing else, let's make it an ad for the Superman celebration at Metropolis, because the best damn show. You're not going to see people from Game of Thrones there. You're not going to see all the fancy stars and shit. But by God, you will enjoy the shit out of it. It is such a good place to be.
Yeah, it's like a family reunion, county fair, and
I always say it's a strawberry festival, but Superman.
But
it's so cool. And you get to see everybody there, from diehard comic book fans to bikers.
Yeah.
And they're all just digging it. They enjoy the show. Everybody does. So, Yes.
All right. Well, speaking of plugging,
come to Metropolis for the Superman celebration. It's awesome.
So, okay, in wrapping up, where could someone find your work online? Give your tags.
Instagram. It's I believe it's James N Hall. James underscore N underscore Hall. That's the best place to find my stuff.
Okay. And would you be available if someone messaged you to buy a print of something of yours, perhaps? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Again, contact me through Instagram. That's the best place.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want something, let me know.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Jim. I feel like
let me make sure I'm right about that, because I don't want to completely throw people off. Instagram, bang bang.
Verification, folks.
James underscore N underscore Hall. That is me, and you can contact me there if you want a commission. If you want a print, let me know. All
right. Well, again, for not doing this very well or often or ever, you did a smash up job.
Yeah, can you see? I'm not looking at the camera or anything. I have no idea where I am.
Maybe we can do this again. Maybe we can do this again sometime and talk about a topic, or maybe we get another artist or two and have a little Brady Bunch screen discuss a topic like AI, perhaps when we have another hour.
Oh my God, that's a really good concept.
It would be a great idea.
If you want to do another one, you just let me know, brother.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. Your work is amazing, and you're such an incredible guy. And
thank you, Trevor.
So thank you for your time and the help with us rolling along with other worldly fundraising and the good things we want to do for people from year to year. So.
Oh wait, do I get a cut of that, by the way?
Do you get a cut? Well, I could I can make you some artwork.
I don't need a cut.
After I pass away, I mean, you're gonna have even more. So, yeah.
All right, brother. I've enjoyed it.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a good night, and thank you
too.
everybody for watching.
Good night.
Good night.